Hi, I'm Nikki Friedman. Welcome back for day 17 of the Wonder Wife workshop. So, recently we've been discussing Dr. John Gottmans' research, where he explains that all couples argue and it's normal to argue. But what he points out is it's important for us to recognize the way that we argue, and that really is the determining factor in how successful a marriage is going to be in the long run. So there are four aspects of arguing that Gottman points out as being crucial to try to avoid. The first one we've been talking about is being criticism. The next one is contempt, speaking in a way that's really like the ultimate form of criticism and negativity, eye rolling, calling names, things like that. The next one is defensiveness, which we've been spending some time on the past few classes. And the last one, which is what I want to focus on tonight, is stonewalling. So, stonewalling really is an outgrowth of the first three: criticism, contempt, and defensiveness. And what happens is that when we turn towards those first three negative forms of communication, our spouse will just completely shut down and become like a cold stone, hence the name stonewalling. And sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes our spouse is delivering that type of negative information towards us, and we turn towards stonewalling. So it's interesting that in Gottman's research, he's found that although both husband and wife may turn towards this type of reaction, 85% of the time, it's actually the male who turns towards stonewalling. So the scene may go something like this. The husband comes home from work, and the wife starts, as soon as he comes into the door, she starts handing him a whole bunch of tasks to do, not to mention he hasn't brought in the mail, and how could he forget to bring in the mail, and oh, did he remember to pick up this X, Y, and Z from the store? Oh, he messed it up. He really was supposed to get this, and instead he got that. And she starts just throwing a whole list of things that maybe has been building in her mind throughout the day, and she just can't wait to get it off her chest already. And she throws it all at her husband. So what does he do? Rather than respond, he says, I'll get to it in a little bit. I have to just go to the bathroom. And then he makes his way into the bathroom, and 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, he still hasn't emerged, right? And then when he comes out, of course, the wife makes some kind of a comment and says, like, gosh, what were you doing in there for so long? When I have to go, it only takes me a few minutes. So how come you're in the bathroom for so long? And in response, he says, I'll be back. I'm going to go check my email. And he just kind of checks out, right? So what happens oftentimes is when a person's heart rate, and this is once again according to John Gottman's research, when a person's heart rate reaches 100 beats per minute or higher, their cortisol levels, this is a physiological reaction, their cortisol levels and stress hormones are just flooding the nervous system, that the brain is no longer able to function in a normal way, right? No matter how hard you try, the brain is just like shut down, okay? It can't focus at full capacity. It gets into a place where the body is and the mind is unable to empathize with other people and their pain and their situations. We have a skewed sense of problem solving, a skewed sense of reality, and being able to tap into our spouse's experience. So what our husband does is, rather than confront the situation, they just turn off. So what is the antidote to stonewalling? So we've discussed this in other classes before, and I just want to bring it back into the forefront of our minds once again, because it is so important to maintaining harmony in a relationship. Give oneself time. Time is the greatest healer. John Gottman has a name for it. He calls it physiological self-soothing. Actually giving the brain and the mind time to heal, and for those cortisol levels to come down, and to be able to come to a place where we can think rationally and therefore express ourselves rationally. For many of us, we're so used to just like expressing everything that we're feeling, and it's a habit that we develop. But hopefully by learning these classes, and by maybe doing some additional reading or some journaling exercises, or working with the therapist or with the coach or whatever it is that you need to do to bring this to the forefront of your consciousness, hopefully we can start putting some of these things into practice and start catching ourselves and stopping ourselves with this. So being able to stop and say, you know what, I need to do something for myself to help me calm down. I've found with people that I work with and with some of my children also that music can be very soothing. That when our heart rate is like through the roof with that flooding experience, being able to stop and put some calming music on, it helps kind of like switch gears. For some people, it's doing some breathing techniques. There's an exercise where you breathe in 4, you hold it for 4, out for 4, hold it for 4. That's like a very popular one. I utilize that one a lot of the time to kind of recenter myself, and it really just sends that oxygen flow to the brain and helps things reset. For some people, it's doing some kind of exercise, moving the body helps the blood flow once again get recalibrated to be able to think clearly. And then once we are calm, to then it doesn't even have to be resolving the situation in that moment, but maybe to be able to then go to our spouse and say, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to have a conversation before. Are we able to set a time together where we can talk about some of these things that you're bringing to my attention, or some things that I'm feeling anxious or upset about? Once I'm now in this better place, I'd like to be able to sit down with you and talk these things out. So once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll continue this conversation further in the upcoming classes, but hopefully this gives us a little food for thought for now to start thinking about, am I stonewalling? Am I giving the cold shoulder? Is my spouse doing it? And if we do notice our spouse doing it, not to push the envelope on them, but to give them that space and that time, because physiologically that's what they need. And then when the timing is right, to be able to readdress the issues.